Hello and welcome to Phoenix Cinema Podcast. I'm Chris Austin.
And I'm Luke Parker.
And this is a podcast where we talk about the programme of London's historic independent venue, among other things. And this week we're discussing the new Norwegian film by Joachim, was it Luke?
Joachim Trier.
Joachim Trier, Sentimental Value.
Sentimental Value unfolds within the intimate, sometimes suffocating orbit of the Borg family in Oslo, where a long-delayed reunion threatens to unravel everything. We are introduced to Nora, played by Renate Reinsve, and her sister Agnes, who are grieving the loss of their mother while trying to navigate their own complicated lives. Their fragile peace is interrupted by the return of their father, Gustav, an eccentric, formerly celebrated filmmaker played by Stellan Skarsgård. He arrives not just to reconnect, but with a completed screenplay based on their family's history, hoping to turn their shared past into his comeback vehicle. The tension spikes when Nora steps away from the project, leading Gustav to make a drastic creative choice. He imports a Hollywood celebrity played by Elle Fanning to take her place. As the cameras start rolling inside the family home, the boundaries between reality and fiction begin to dissolve, leaving Nora to watch from the sidelines as a stranger performs a version of her life while her father directs the scene. So, Sentimental Value. I feel like this one's been in the running for a while now. We've finally gotten around to doing it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you had seen this filmmaker's previous film with Renata.
I've seen Worst Person in the World, and I love it. I think it's really, really good. I haven't seen the rest of his. He has like a kind of unofficial trilogy, I think, of films kind of set in Oslo. So there's The Worst Person in the World. There was also Oslo 31st of August, and I think for a prize, they're like an unofficial trilogy. And this is, I think, Joachim Trier's the only film he's done like outside of that trilogy in a long time. But I've heard people saying that this is like, because I haven't seen all of the Oslo trilogy films, like I can't really say, but I've seen people say that this is like an unofficial follow-up. In that, you know, it carries a lot of the same themes and like obviously the same location as well. In fact, I think the house, which has obviously played a really pivotal role in the film, is the same building was utilised in Oslo 31st of August.
Wow. Wow.
So, yeah. But I don't really know enough about it.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I've never seen any of his other films.
Okay.
I did remember you raving Worst Person in the World, and you weren't the only one. Yeah. And so I've always wanted to check it out, but still haven't had the chance to. So yeah, this is my first sort of introduction to him. And he's clearly a really interesting filmmaker. And he's really obviously very interested in digging down deep into the minutiae of complex relationships.
Very complex relationships. Yeah.
Very, 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 yeah. Which is great. You know, he doesn't spoon feed you at all. It's, you know, no character is squeaky clean. Everyone's flawed. And I really appreciate that. Yeah. I told you when I first saw this, what an awful experience I had, right?
Yeah. You got a bit of a story about this, haven't you?
Yeah, it was a Curzon cinema, and I realized that the volume was too low. It was just too low. And it was the trailers, and I was thinking, nah, this isn't good. I can fucking barely fucking hear anything. So I left the screen and I went and spoke to the staff and I said, it's really low. Is the volume going to increase once the movie begins? And with such confidence, this woman was like, oh yeah, yeah. I was like, oh, okay, well, there you go then. That's just how they run things. All right. Sat there, the movie begins, and I'm like, we're in trouble. Because nothing's changed. And, you know, it was quite a full screen and no one's complaining. Everyone's just accepting this. And I watched about 20 minutes and I thought, I am not doing this because I'm enjoying this. I like what I'm seeing and I can watch this louder at home. Why am I paying for this then? So I had to whisper argue with Carrie Ann and say, we're leaving. Like, I'm leaving. with full expectations that she's going to follow me, and she didn't.
Oh, did she stay for the whole thing?
No, she stayed.
Oh.
And I think she got confused about what I was doing, so I left and I got a refund.
Okay.
And then she was texting me like, "Are you coming back?" I was like, "Nope." So then she came out, but that worked all in our favor. The point of it is to say, don't accept the presentation of any film in a cinema if you're paying for it and you think it can be better. If you know it should be better,
it must have been an issue in the cinema because when I watched it, like especially the dialogue, it wasn't low enough in the mix to like be an issue at all.
No, not at all. So actually, it was great. It really worked in our favor. So the next night, we were like, "All right, we're going to go to a different cinema." We went to a View. It was a Saturday night. There's only one showing. And can you imagine? The options right now are Avatar and like horror films. It's a Saturday night, right? And pretty quiet. There was no one else there. And we had the middle row, just us. It was like a private screening with perfect sound. I was like, this worked out well. But anyway, all told, what is your reaction to this film, Luke?
Yeah, I really loved it. And just before this call, we were talking about maybe having to make amendments to our wrap-up of 2025 that we did.
I knew
recently.
This would happen, yeah.
And yeah, this is definitely going to come into that, I think. It's definitely food for thought, but yeah, I loved it. I think practically the exact same reasons I loved The Worst Person in the World, and I can see why people say that this is similar because tonally it's very similar and subject matter is very similar with Renate Rainsford, yeah, her character Nora. Like, there's a lot of parallels to her character in The Worst Person in the World in terms of like feeling lost and lonely and. But obviously, the big kind of catalyst and driving factor in this film is Stellan Skarsgård, who is amazing. Recently won, just last weekend, the Best Supporting Actor.
That's right.
Was it the Golden Globes, I think?
Globes, yeah.
And do you know what's just a testament to how good he is in this film is, I remember months ago, it must have been around the time when they were releasing the film at some film festivals, so it must have been middle or late last year. I saw a clip of Stellan Skarsgård in an interview, and there's a scene in this film where he's doing an interview with Elle Fanning's character, and the interview goes a bit wrong and he starts having to go at the interviewer for asking shit questions. But the clip I watched it must have been on maybe TikTok or something like that. It was just cut to be Stellan Skarsgård, and I thought it was real. I thought it was actually a real clip of him.
Oh, interesting.
Lashing out on an interviewer. I was like, "What's this guy on?"
Because I can see him doing that too. He looks like a scary guy. To me,
he definitely does. Yeah. And then when I was watching the film, I saw that it was only when I was watching it now for this that I realised that it wasn't.
Right. I can see how you'd make that mistake. Yeah.
Obviously, the film deals with like some really sensitive and difficult, strained relationships, and I feel like what I love most about the film is how delicately it kind of deals with these really quite deep and strong themes. There's, even though like the driving force of the film is that relationship between Gustav and Nora, I think actually one of the highlights for me was the continuing relationship that we see between Nora and her sister. I think it's Agnes was the character's name. I can't remember the actress's name.
Inga, I think it's Inga Ibsdotter Lilius or Lilius. Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is I was looking at her filmography before, and I think this is like her first kind of big film outside of Norwegian cinema, I think.
Wow.
I mean, she's an amazing actress, and
Yeah.
for me, like their relationship was the real highlights. And
I agree with that.
even Agnes's character in general, you know, there's certain scenes where she's kind of uncovering a bit of her family's past, and we kind of see kind of the torment, and it's not really clear to us how all these characters are feeling, but that's kind of to the film's testament.
Yes.
Because I felt that a lot during the film, is that we didn't really know exactly what was going through these characters' heads. But for me, that was an absolute positive for the film, and it just made it feel so organic and so raw.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And it's like I said earlier, they don't spoon feed you.
They don't
And
at
actually,
all.
there's a lot where it's like it just comes down to their facial expressions, their eyes, for you to figure out what they're thinking. And actually, you could probably come quite close. That's how good the performances are.
Yeah. I think the film's beautifully shot. It's very intimate, and again, mirrors exactly how I felt about the worst person in the world. Having this beautiful house, like suburban house, literally is a character within the film. And
It is. Yeah.
I mean, they make that very obvious from the very opening lines.
That's right.
When they're talking about, there's this little monologue done by a narrator talking about how does this house feel, or does it feel? Does it prefer when it's empty? Does it prefer when it's busy?
And a lovely montage to accompany that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I really like that, and I like how the film's kind of centered and pivoted around this one location.
Yeah.
There's kind of, I don't know if you'd call it meta, but there is kind of a bit of a meta element between what Gustav's film, like the screenplay that he's written, and the film that's being made within this film, and the film itself, I guess, which is interesting. And I will say as well that Elle Fanning was a pleasant surprise, considering I'm actually not that big a fan of her as an actress. I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen her in something where I've been like, "You're good." I think that sounds a bit blunt and a bit harsh, but no, I really, really bought her character, and I didn't feel like I was just watching Elle Fanning, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they're my kind of initial thoughts. What about you? I'm curious to know. I honestly, when I was watching this, I was like, I can't tell if Chris is going to hate this or not.
Well, I had an interesting response to it. I think that I definitely wasn't as blown away by it as others seem to be. But I can absolutely appreciate the film for what it is in all its strengths. And you clearly really loved this film. And I'll be honest, even if I didn't, I basically agree with everything that you're saying. It's so strong in so many ways, and it's full of fantastic performances. It's great filmmaking. What you're saying about Elle Fanning as well, that character that she's playing could easily be quite one note, and she's able to flesh her out into this human being despite being
very
this
human,
clearly very famous person.
Because it would have been so easy to have her come in and kind of be like what would be quite predictable when we think of some successful American actress, quite blunt, quite plain, and quite
bit shallow.
Shallow. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
They don't do that at all.
No, they don't.
Very empathetic.
Yeah, even down to how her relationship with Stellan ends in the movie. It's so adult. It just reaches this natural conclusion, and it's so interesting. I could never tell where we were going, and that was a really good thing. I'll say what my problem with it is, and I think it comes from just my own personal life experience. This is another, to me, champagne movie, which we spoke about with Blue Moon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we're watching extremely privileged people have problems. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that because that's life, right? We all have problems. However, because these are people who are excelling and really successful in their chosen careers, which is acting, directing, this is my chosen career, and still having to empathize with them through all their success, I found that quite hard. You know, in a way, I was like, you know, the lead character, is it Nora?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's got problems, sure. But she's also doing really fucking well. You know, she is playing to what looks to be sold out theaters. You know, and this isn't a black box theater. This is an established venue. She, you know, big plays. And her father is a massive film director who comes to her, despite all their problems, comes to her one day with a script and says, I want you to play the lead. And they've got so much history between them that the first thing she does is go, no. And I'm just like, yeah, I can't really, you know, it's tough. But I think for me, it's purely about where I'm coming from. In my life, it's really hard for me to empathize with that. Listen, the film is good enough, and the writing is great, and the performances are good enough that it is compelling. There's no doubt about that. It's really compelling characters and story, and it's full of complex relationships, and I really dug that. But in all other aspects, I was like, you are all living the good life. You know, you really are.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I can totally see why you or why people in general would feel that way. But when a film is presenting such kind of complicated conflict and family conflict, and doing it in a way that feels so raw and real with characters who are genuinely very likable and very very intelligent and very sensible, and it's not an issue for me at all because it's less where they are in their lives, with them being Nora being an actress and Gustav being a director. It just becomes a vessel to tell a more interesting story, I think.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. I think when we go down that angle, this is something I've wanted for my whole life, pretty much. And so I think that's where the block comes in. Because what's interesting is everything involving Nora's acting classes and rehearsals and backstage before the show, it struck such a chord with me. I mean, those feelings of anxiety before a show begins, you know, the way the film opens with her is fucking hilarious. what she's putting the stage manager through. And I can relate to that. I mean, I feel those nerves in my teeth, you know, and there's that one scene where I think she's in a class and she's crying by the bed, and you see a group of people watching her, and that door that's in the room, that door, Luke, in any acting class is always there. The preparation that goes on behind that door, where you have to enter full of something. And honestly, it made me feel so far away from when I used to do that. I felt quite wistful about my time away from stage and screen watching all this. And maybe that's the interesting thing for me. Maybe that's the block for me, where I felt no emotion whatsoever in this movie, where other people are quite moved by it. It was hard for me to fully appreciate their successful professional lives and equally the problems they have. I think when it's something you want badly enough, it was hard for me to be moved by their problems when they're achieving on a daily basis everything I've dreamed of and worked towards for the last 17 years of my life. I think that's a
Okay, I
very
get that,
personal
but
problem.
yeah. I was gonna say, because even though I could totally understand that, I definitely would not, in any sense of the word, label this film as kind of tone deaf or. Do you know what I mean? It's not.
No, God, no. I agree
It's,
with you. I agree with you.
it doesn't
No.
actually. It doesn't feel like a champagne movie in the sense that it's not really that relevant how successful these people are. Well, I guess it is, but it isn't at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, at one point they're doing a whole interview for Netflix, and it's like, they're at Cannes, for fuck's sake, and they get to spend the whole night drinking on a beach. I'm like,
Mhm.
again, no, it's not tone deaf. The movie nails what it sets out to do. It's just me personally. What that's fascinating for me to just be completely at a remove from it because of how, you call it bitterness, call it whatever you want, but where I am at my life right now, it's hard to watch it and get swept away by it. Yeah, I don't know. It was very interesting, and it's a shame because I actually thought I thought I was going to love it.
Okay. Yeah, that is a shame. I think something else I loved about the film was how it ended, because it's hard to really know whether this film really has a happy ending
Yeah,
in kind of like the traditional sense of it, because like I said before, it's never really that clear what everyone is really thinking
yeah,
and how everyone's really feeling, I think. I mean, the way that they actually properly ended the film in terms of going through that scene that was mentioned earlier with Elle Fanning's character, like that is a perfect way to end it.
yeah. It's perfect. Yeah, and disorienting too, because the way the scene begins, you're not quite sure what's happening. Yeah,
Yeah, it's not immediately apparent whether this is what we think it is.
right.
You know, I guess if I did have one critique for the film, it would probably be that Nora's change towards her father right at the end when she actually does decide to do the film. I mean, it's a real standout scene for me when Nora's sister brings the screenplay to her and says, "Read this."
Yeah,
And then Nora sits
lovely.
there and reads it. But I don't know if you feel the same, that maybe that sudden change for her then to just suddenly do the film is maybe a little bit quick or a little bit underdeveloped, or yeah, just maybe a bit too sudden for me.
No, I didn't. I didn't feel that way actually. I didn't. And I think because when it comes to that final scene, you're never quite sure how much time has passed. And what I found actually really, a really great choice is that a decision was made at some point to not be in the house anymore,
Yeah.
and to instead do this whole thing on a soundstage. And I was like, well, where were those discussions and who asked for that to happen? Yeah, it's but it's fascinating. Yeah, I didn't feel like it was rushed at all. But I agree with you too, because what I really like about where the movie ends between them as characters, not much has changed. They're still, I think, unable to communicate properly with each other.
Yes.
I think that's very apparent by the way they just stare at each other, and there's a look that passes between them and no dialogue. They still don't know how to do that. And I love that. I love that that's life, right? There's no clean ending of, and now we're all just one big happy family. That's not how it works. So yeah, really, really cool. I really like that choice.
Yeah, I think with Nora's character, I think it's really unclear at the end, especially like what actually her feelings towards her father are. Because like, even though within her actions, her refusing to do the film, and then she starts having all these issues where she can't go on stage, and she does like this opening night for a play, and and then like the next scene is her calling in sick the next day to be like, yeah, I don't want to do this. There's almost like this repressed love for her father, I think, and that must be where the guilt, not the guilt, sorry, that must be where like almost the jealousy is coming from when Elle Fanning's character gets her role. I think I don't really know what else or why else she would be feeling that way, you know, because the jealousy, or maybe even jealousy is not the right word, but the torment that her being cast causes her is really apparent.
Yeah, it really felt to me like she needs validation, and she's been seeking validation from her father, I think, most of her life. It's interesting that he's a film director and she became an actress, and yet he's never there. He doesn't attend her shows. At one point, he walked out during the interval. As far as she knows, she apparently was in a very successful TV series. And as far as she knows, he never watched it. And I think to be rejected to such an extent like that when you are in the same industry, the same career, I think was really interesting. And then not only that, the fact that when they were kids, her sister was the one chosen to be in this film that's really well regarded. And yet the sister chose never to continue in that line of work. It's so much to unpack, and it's not easy to do that. Which I really appreciate.
I agree that like she's kind of seeking some validation, but at the same time she doesn't want to kind of give her father the time of day, and it's a very like strained relationship.
It's like a push pull. Yeah
exactly.
And it's tough too, because her father is an absolute prick sometimes. Right? There's times where you're like, you are such a bastard, the way you're treating your daughters, the things that you're saying that you know are going to cut, that are going to hurt. And yeah, again, that's a testament to the film, is he's not the villain. He's also a very, three-dimensional person. He's a human being that really is flawed, like we all are.
It's like he can only communicate through his art, basically.
Yeah.
And because of that, he does kind of come across villainous because of kind of how blunt or emotionally ignorant he is. But really, he's not at all. He just is inept when it comes to communicating.
Yeah, and, I get it. Sometimes we just can't. Sometimes we find it very... I don't know about you, but even with family, sometimes you find it very hard to communicate.
Yeah, for sure.
What you really want to say, or you know what I mean? It's there's so much left unsaid sometimes in interactions, and it's and that's life, right? That's life.
Absolutely.
I thought it was another really interesting parallel to Jay Kelly as well, where in that movie. Oh, have you seen it?
I haven't seen Jay Kelly.
Oh, okay. Right.
Go on.
Well, just in terms of when the sister in this film is talking to her dad and saying, there was a time in my life where I was the center of your world. I was the center of attention. It was only when we were on set and I was in your movie, and once that was done, she stopped being that focus. And there's a very similar sentiment expressed in Jay Kelly as well. And so yeah, we're very like Blue Moon, Jay Kelly, Sentimental Value. They're all sort of playing with the same ideas here. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
I will say I really, really liked the soundtrack to this film.
Really?
Was there even much of a score, full stop? Like, I didn't really notice the score, but I noticed a lot of the songs that they used throughout the film.
I see. Yeah, you're right. Good soundtrack. There is a score by Hania Rani. Yeah, never heard of it,
but for example, like the song that plays in the very last scene and through the ending credits, like it's such a beautiful song, and throughout the film, just very like homey, folky, quite emotional music. Some good choices.
Yeah. That opening play she's doing, was that the Shining theme there?
Well, it was the Shining theme, but
Yeah.
it definitely was a Shining theme because I thought that as well, and then I saw the stage and I was like, "What is this?"
That doesn't look like anything to do with The Shining. Yeah.
Maybe it was some new playwright's interpretation of.
Yeah, I guess so. Excellent, man. Well, look, I'm really glad you enjoyed it as much as you did.
Yeah, I loved it.
mean, oh, that's great. Yeah, I'm so pleased. And listen, you're not the only one. It's so highly regarded, and it's been nominated all over the place, and that's great. You know, it's a shame I didn't. Like I said, I think there's a personal block there, but I can absolutely appreciate
if you really enjoyed Joachim's filmmaking and kind of pretty much most things about it, but you kind of had that issue with that, just the nature of the characters' privilege, etc. Then I think you definitely should see The Worst Person in the World. Definitely move it to the top of your list.
Really?
Because,
okay.
Yeah, I can. Based on how you've reacted to this film, I can really see you enjoying it and taking more out of The Worst Person in the World, I think.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Dude, I really plan to. Like, I 100%, I'm like, even more now, I want to watch that movie.
Yeah.
Because of Trier and because of Reinsver. I think she's fantastic.
Oh, yeah, she's a great actress.
Yeah. So I really want to see that again. I want to watch that. For the first time, for sure. Yeah, regardless of whether I love this film or not. So yeah, I definitely will.
Nice.
Do you have an idea for pairings?
I do. Although I did kind of struggle with this one. I didn't want to go for a boring choice and just do another film from the Oslo trilogy.
Okay, yeah.
Should I go first with mine?
Sure.
I would pair this with Manchester by the Sea.
Interesting.
Have you seen it?
I have.
Okay. It's a 2016 film directed by Kenneth Lonergan. I think I'm saying that right.
Lonergan, yeah.
Casey Affleck and Michelle Williams. And I think I'd pair it purely based on the tonality of the films and kind of how emotional I found them both. I think the biggest credit to both of these films is the screenplay. They're both so tight, so real, so raw, the scripts, and I just think they'd make for a very powerful, maybe definitely a very depressing double bill, but I don't know, maybe having seen them both, do you maybe agree or disagree on kind of that tonality and seeing
No, I see exactly where you're coming
side by side?
From. Yeah, I see exactly where you're coming from. Both really great screenplays, both dealing with really
strained, difficult family relationships.
Yes.
Different relationships within the family, but, you know, really put to the test.
And it's all about the interactions with each other. Every single scene. Yeah, to the point where when I was in acting school in New York, I remember for some classes, they used scenes from Manchester by the Sea. Yeah, for us to do. Cool. And so it was that exact scenario that you see Renate Reinsver in this movie, where you've got, you know, the lights are on the stage, everyone else is in the dark, and you've got that door, and you've got a bed or what have you, and you come through and you start your scene. And yeah, we had to do a couple of scenes from that, and it was hard, really tough.
I can imagine. Really imagine.
Yeah, really, really hard.
I also like how I feel like in both films, the location and the setting really plays a really pivotal role. Like in this film, it's the house, and then obviously in Manchester by the Sea, it's kind of this isolation, tight-knit community within this town.
And it's all in the title. Like the title of the film is a location, right? That is, tells you everything about how how vital the environment and the community play to the story. Yeah.
Both beautiful films.
I see where you're
both.
coming from. Yeah, I see where you're coming from now. That's a really good pick, man. I went for May, December. Did you see it?
Okay. Yeah, I did.
It was purely down to like the Elle Fanning aspect of this movie, and having an actress, having a performer sort of inject themselves into characters' personal lives to essentially shadow them and study them and attempt to tell a story based on their own personal experiences, and end up becoming quite disruptive to their reality.
I loved May December. I thought it was so unsettling, and I love Natalie Portman. I love Todd Haynes, so it was like a winner, really.
I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I think very similar. I wasn't as struck by it as I wanted to be. I loved the concept of it. I loved the story, but across the board, performances are great, filmmaking's great, and just that whole element of trying to tell your life story.
No, I totally see it. Yeah, I totally see it.
Yeah, that could make for a really interesting trilogy of films. Yeah, why not?
Very depressing, emotional trilogy of films.
But we love that shit, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Excellent. All right, man. Well, I guess let's leave it there then.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sentimental Value. Glad you enjoyed it, mate. And I will see you. Enjoy your vacation.
I will. Definitely will.
I'll see you when you get back, mate.
All right.
That's all from us today, folks. Our episodes are edited, and our music is by Stefan Krieger. Find more of his stuff at stefan-krieger.com. And in the meantime, let us know what you're watching, and we'll see you next time on Phoenix Cinema Podcast. Bye for now.